Have you ever looked at an expensive sim rig and said, maybe I can do that myself? Well, that's exactly what I did, and now you get to come along for the ride. Let me give you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do here. There's a conventional wisdom in the sim world that the best and stiffest tool that we have right now for building sim cockpits is extruded aluminum. 8020, T-slot, goes by a bunch of different names. Extruded aluminum can be expensive, and depending on your budget, you might not be able to do that kind of build. There's also sim cockpits built out of steel tubing. Those are pretty interesting and cool too. And then there's a whole host of DIY wood framed sim cockpits all over the internet. And I know because I've watched a ton of videos before going ahead and making this one. So one of the arguments for the extruded aluminum and against a wood frame tool, a wood frame cockpit, is rigidity and stiffness and strength. So I'm about to build a wood frame sim cockpit, and I'm going to try, and I'm going to use it as a comparison because not too long down the road, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be switching to an aluminum frame because that's going to be the best tool for my purposes. And we'll go over that in just a second. But I want to, because I want to test this myth on is one stronger, is one stiffer, is one better or worse in that department. And the other thing that's really positive about extruded aluminum is it's got almost infinite adjustability, which is also really helpful. I'm going to have a kind of a workaround for that. It won't be infinite adjustability, but I have an idea how I'm going to tackle that problem here with a wood frame rig as well. This rig's going to be pretty highly adjustable, not necessarily or not nearly as adjustable as a extruded aluminum system, but it's going to be pretty adjustable, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I've decided to basically build a replica of one of the best sim rigs, best rated sim rigs out there that we can buy and build at home. Now, there are turnkey systems which are going to cost you anywhere from $5,000 or $6,000 up to maybe $100,000. Those systems are fantastic. Most of them are also built with extruded aluminum, but there's a whole process of custom building. The manufacturer or the developers come to your house oftentimes and build it for you. Everything is put together ahead of time, and they bring it in, basically deliver it, set it up for you. That's a whole nother level of what we're doing here. I personally like tinkering. I like building things. You're going to see that here today. So that's why I'm going to build my own here. And then probably when I get an extruded aluminum cockpit, I'm also going to put it together myself. I don't necessarily need or even want someone else to come in and do it for me. I want to know how it's built and put together so that when I want to adjust it and make it work, I will be able to do it myself. If someone else builds it for me, it's tough to do. So I'm going to be replicating, as close as I possibly can, one of the highest rated aluminum extruded sim rigs out there. The cool part is a lot of these companies, when you're able to download off their website the instructions to put these together, they actually give you the dimensions of what it is and everything from the height of the aluminum extrusion to the length of the aluminum extrusion. It's hard to say, to the length of all of these different pieces. And the width. So that is going to be what I'm going to do here. It's going to be a replica. I'm flat out putting it out there, stealing all of the numbers, and going to go as close as I can to that in a wood framed system. Now, all of that is done in a cool way or an interesting way, because most of these systems, I think, probably started being made in Europe and they're all measured in metric. Here in the States, we are not usually measuring stuff in metric, but to do that, I'm going to, I actually went out and bought a metric tape measure, and I'm going to be building this in metric for all of the lengths, and I'm going to put all of this stuff in a way for you all to get it so that you can have access to this. One other thing real quick, hold on, let me go, I had to go, here it is, already lost it. So I went to the big box store and tried to find a regular like 6 or 12 foot tape measure that was metric. They didn't have one that was just metric. They just had a couple that were metric and English. I have plenty of English, but I wanted an honest to God metric tape measure. The only one that they had that wasn't, it's still both. It's this tiny one from from Milwaukee, and but it's got both the metric measure and the American, but it wasn't too expensive, so I didn't mind buying a both one here for this project. I'll probably go out and buy one eventually as well. A regular, maybe I have to order it from Amazon or whatever. But anyway, so I've got myself my metric tape measure. Everything is going to be measured in metric. The only thing I'm not using metric is my hardware, my bolts that I'm going to put it together with. For two reasons. One, it's hard to find metric bolts like this. And two, they look to be more expensive by a good bit. And part of the reason we're building a wood rig is to save a little bit of money. So that's the one thing I'm going to change. At the moment, I'm planning to use all 3/8 inch bolts to put this together. I think that'll be hefty enough. If I need to down the road upgrade that to 1/2 inch, I can. I don't think that's going to be necessary. So, and I'll give you just a little bit of my reasoning behind how I'm going to build this and the type of style. There are some gorgeous sim rigs out there, both from the custom, the aluminum extruded type and the wood frame type. And there are people out there whose idea of sim racing and what brings them happiness and joy for doing this project, which gets them excited, is to build a sim that replicates down to what it's like to actually sit in a race car. Now, that includes not even the stuff having to do with driving, not the seat, not the wheel, but like having almost a passenger seat area and all this kind of other stuff, building out, putting a fire extinguisher in there, building out a tube frame that looks like a roll cage. I'm not interested in that. Not what my purpose is here. My purpose for building the sim rig is pretty simple. I am going to be doing, I'm doing this because I want to find and build the best tool for two things. One, I want to become really good at sim racing. And at my age, that is sometimes a challenge. Us old guys, we don't always want to do what we need to do who've been in a car before to make it all work out. Simming is a little difficult for us to grasp onto. We'll get into that in a whole nother video. But my tool is to become really good at sim racing and to build the best tool for me to use for training for my eventual return to racing IRL in real life on a racetrack. So I'm not looking for the prettiest sim rig. I'm not going to be sanding it down and all of that. I'm going to paint it black because I think that will look good in the space that I'm putting in from a distance so that my family who has to look at it isn't just looking at a bunch of wood sticks in the corner with my sim race stuff. So I will paint it black, but I'm not going to do a real good job of making sure it looks perfect or anything like that. This is truly a tool for me to train on and a tool for me to hopefully have the right stuff I need to get really good at sim racing. So let's get right into it. First off, there's several grades of sim racing cockpits that you can out there in the aluminum extrusion. And a lot of the difference between the grades has to do with the height of the profile. And the less expensive ones typically have an 80 millimeter height. And then the kind of mid-range ones are often 120 millimeter. And then the top of the line extruded aluminum rigs tend to be of 160 millimeter profile height. So I decided I'm trying to replicate this top rated one. The top rated one is 160 millimeters. The closest that we have in stick lumber, which is what I'm using to be able to try to save money and make this an easy build and attainable for folks, is and the width of the profiles is typically 40 millimeters. So the closest that we have to fit 40 by 160 is a 2x6. It's a little bit less, but it's as close as that we're going to get. So for this build, the main base is going to be with a 2x6, And let me show you the sizing here real quick. So the width is 1.5 inches on a 2x6. It's not really a 2x6. It's a 1.5 by 5.5. So the width is 1.5, which is as close to the 40 millimeter as I'm going to be able to get here. And then the height of the profile, which I said was 160 millimeter, is 5.5 inches here on a 2x6. And I'll put on the screen what the conversions are, just to see how close we're getting. But all of the main base for this is going to be done in that regards. So I am going to start putting together and doing my cuts now. I've got to do a ton of cutting. I'm going to do all my cutting first. Then I'm going to show you how I do the adjustability and all of that, which is kind of, I think I have an interesting way to accomplish that project. And we will go from there. So stay with me. I'm gonna move the camera around so you can get a big wide view of what I'm doing here, and then we will start working on this. We're gonna start here with our board cutting. I have a bunch of cuts to do. I have a cut list that I've put together so I know exactly how many of each 2x6 I need at what length. So we're gonna do all of that first, gonna do all of the cutting, and I will go through the process with you as we go. And from there, we will go from there. So I will also talk a little bit about the tools that I'm using, and we're gonna go by the measure once, cut twice, measure twice, cut once. Yeah, that's what my grandpa taught me. Measure twice, cut once method. And so that's where we're at with it. So we're gonna start with this now. I'm gonna try to come up and clean up the ends of these so I can get the best pieces of these pieces of wood. I probably could do it without doing that because this is not supposed to be a pretty project. But I am gonna, if I have something that looks really rough, I will come and change that. So here we go. I'm looking at this piece. There's a little defect here. I'm okay with that. But there's a little more defect here on the end. So I'm going to first take off the end on this one. So that's going to be my first cut. I'm going to put the cut list over here, I think. So and since almost all of my cuts are going to be just 90-degree cuts, I'll be using this I don't know what they call, carpenter square, framing square, and we'll be using that for almost all the cuts. There is going to be one angled cut. I'm not quite sure what angle I'm going to do yet because that's one thing they don't put in, but the angled cut, I'm not quite sure if that's the best thing to do for the strength on this project. I think maybe up and down would be more strength, but I'm replicating the original, and I may have to add bracing at the end once I test it out a little bit. So, all right, so these legs need to be 1350, 1350 millimeters each. So that's gonna be my next cut. Where did I put my tape measure? All right, here we go. And measurements don't have to be 100% precise, but obviously I want them to be as close as possible. So I've got that. That's good. I'll get the next piece off because I don't think this is long enough. Nope, it's not. But the upright is 850. Let's see if there's enough here. Oh, these are going to make uprights. So I'm going to save this piece here and hold it aside because I know what I'm going to do with this piece already. So here's a situation where there's a bunch of bad stuff on this end of the board. So I'm going to work and use this side of the board as my next cut. Anybody who builds things knows there's never enough clamps. And we just moved, so I don't have everything in my shop exactly where I want it right now. But that's why this is probably going to take a little bit longer than it normally would. 5 at 500. This is for our foot box, or our seat box, I'm sorry. And the seat box I am doing a little bit different. because of the fact that I don't have the easy mounting and connecting points like I would with the extruded aluminum. So I'm actually making a complete box for the seat to sit on, and then I'm going to do that do that next. And I was going to use this piece for one of the uprights, but because this piece has got some damage and the seat box is going to be hidden inside the rig, it won't be seen, I'm going to use this piece of wood here for that purpose there. And we'll get this thing cut here real quick. I can get 2 out of this. These have to be 500 millimeters long. Gonna have to do a better job measuring these because that one was off and I don't want to do that again. So I'm gonna put my square. So what I did there was I forgot to take the part that's supposed to fall off and put it hanging over the edge. I learned the hard way once that if you keep it in the center, when it does, it starts to flex both sides in. I'll show you in a second. Let me finish this cut. And you can see I kind of marred that up just a little bit. So what happens is if you put this in the center, you cut between the sawhorses. As the cut comes through, it starts to bow this way as opposed to falling off. When it starts to bow this way, you can catch your blade, and that can be a whole bunch of not so good. So thankfully I caught that there before it became problematic. All right, these are supposed to be the uprights. These are 850. All right, so now we have all the sides done. The seat box in the front. Gonna need 2 by 160 for the front plate. The uprights are done. Okay. We're getting really close here, at least on the 2 by 6s. All right, so this is one of those where I'm not gonna use millimeters actually, because this is supposed to match up with the front base. And I want it to be flush with the top. And the 160 is a guesstimation. It is off by a little bit here on the 5.5 inches. So, so we're gonna go here at 5.5. Just have 2 more cuts on the 2 by 6s and then we're done. That was a nail that I just pulled out, or not the nail, but the staple that keeps the tag so that the people at the big box store know how much to charge me here. I pulled it out. Do not want to leave this on the shop floor because we pull cars in here, so. All right, so this is the leg for the monitor stand. I'm gonna have a separate monitor stand. It's gonna be freestanding, and you'll see it when we put it together and do that part of the video. But, and again, I'm replicating, on this case, the same dimensions as the stand that the company, this top brand company, sells. So, just utilizing their same dimensions here. Alright. Pull this one apart again. Alright, that's the bundled up piece there. Well, if I've done this right, and we'll know at the end, it looks like I've bought the perfect number of 2x6s here. This is the last piece, so, and this is the last cut I've got to make. So it looks like 680. Looks like I did my math right. I'm a journalist, so the math isn't always my strong point. one more piece I'm gonna have to cut. And I forgot about that part till just now. But we will get to that in a few minutes here. But let's get the 2x4s that I know I need to cut here. All right, I just wanted to show you real quick why I cut that end off. One, I have plenty of 2x4s. There'll be other projects I'll use 2x4s for, so I bought an extra one or two. But this was the piece that was right up by where I was gonna have to put a bolt through this, and I didn't wanna put the bolt through the knot. I don't really care about the knot because it doesn't really, again, it's gonna be hidden for the most part, but I didn't want to have to put a bolt. So I cut a few inches off the end so that the knot ended up in the middle of my piece of wood, and that becomes a better, I can still use that piece of wood, just move it around. I only lost maybe 3-4 inches off of this piece of 2x4. Again, 2x4s are relatively inexpensive, but you know, you don't wanna, we're trying not to waste anything here and keep the budget low. So these are for the seat mounts. The next thing I have to cut are the uprights and the cross members for the monitor stand. And those are supposed to be $11.95. Let's see if I have enough on this piece to turn this into one of them before I have to go get another 2x4. $11.95. All right, so up next I'm going to make the monitor the side arm, which is really important in this rig because it is it does two things. One, it's where you would attach your accessories if you had a shifter or a handbrake or even a keyboard holder, keyboard tray, which is probably what I'm going to do because my shifters are going to be paddle shifters for pretty much everything I drive. And also, and maybe more importantly, it is a brace for your wheel deck. Now, the one thing I'm worried about with this build is because it's wood and not aluminum extrusion, is the rigidity of especially the wheel deck. Because the wheel deck are those two arms that come up with a cross member and then your force feedback direct drive wheel heads on top. And I don't have the strongest direct drive wheel coming, but if I did, that's a potential place where you would find where the wood doesn't meet up to the standard of the aluminum extrusion. I'm going to run it as it's designed, as the replica is for a little bit, see how it works. I may have to add another brace on the other side of that wheel deck to make it strong. I think two braces would be perfect, although I don't want to do that because that makes it a little more difficult to get it in and out of the rig. Not horrible, but anyway, we're going to see how it works as designed. And then I will, if I need to, after racing with it for a little bit, I will add more bracing to see if I can get it really, really rigid, if I even need to. So 2 more pieces to cut, 1 more 2x6, 1 more 2x4, and then we should be done with the length cutting. I got some angles to cut, and I have some plywood to cut, but that's coming up next. That should be all of the 2x4s and the 2x6s. Everything should be cut. I now have to make the the base for the seat and the base for the pedal deck and then the wheel deck. It's all coming out of 1/2-inch plywood. So I'm gonna do that right now. So stand by for that. This is one of the areas where I'm varying a bit from a complete straight replica. Because I'm trying to stiffen up the rigidity of this wood build, and it's hard to make a nice rigid square box where it doesn't twist where the box wouldn't twist. I'm trying to see how to like angle itself and get crooked that way. So what I'm doing is I'm going to build a box, a square box with a plywood top on it. And when I screw on that plywood top, that will make that box rigid in all of its dimensions. Then the sides will bolt to that box, and that will give the rigidity so that the so that the sides don't twist on us. And it's the one concession I'm making to wood versus the aluminum extrusion. I don't know that I need to do this, but I feel like it will be helpful for it. And also make for a very easy way for those sides to get bolted on. And I will show you how we're going to do that here in just a little bit. So the seat deck and the wheel deck are the same size, 500 millimeter by 500 millimeters. So I need 2 plates for that. And then the box is my one concession. Even on the foot pedals, the pedal deck is still a pretty close replica to how they do it on their build. So, but this is the one spot where I'm doing something just slightly different in the name of squareness, rigidity, all that kind of stuff. So here we go with this. This is a square that's used for cutting drywall, and it works great for making square, straight lines here. And so this is going to be my first 500. Now I have one that needs to be 325. I don't know how wide. So I have one more piece that needs to be 325 wide, but I don't know exactly how long it needs to be. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the 325 part. And then once everything gets put together, I will go after and kind of take a measurement once it's put together and grab this last piece. Next up, I'm going to try to address one of the big drawbacks, criticisms of a wood build versus a aluminum extruded build, and that is adjustability. Aluminum extrusion, if you do a little YouTubing, you'll see is you can adjust to just the minute levels because of the way the T-slot works. That's not possible with wood. And so there's 2 ways to do this, is to figure out exactly where you want your stuff, then cut the holes to mount. Or I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna put 2 sets of holes through the through all of the boards, so that there's a lot of different places to adjust where the wheel goes and where the wheel goes up and down, where the wheel goes back and forth, and where the pedals go back and forth inside the rig. It's a little bit more work on the front end, but it will make making adjustments easier. It won't be quite to the level of adjustments of aluminum extrusion, I get that. But it will be a whole lot easier to adjust down the road if I need to adjust things, if I get a different pedal set or whatever the case may be. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and watch along and see what happens. How about that? I'm out here working on the rig, and here is a great delivery from Apex Sim Racing. This is my Sim Magic wheel. So can't wait to get this open up, but not right now. Got to get back to work on the other thing. Okay. So I'm building a template to make the drilling these holes the same, so I make sure that they're all going to line up no matter where I put stuff. So I'm going to take a few more minutes to make the template. I'll show you how it works in just a minute. All right, well, I was going to try to tackle the issue of adjustability by making a template and basically being able to have the same holes in every piece of wood, assuming that they would line up properly. The problem is that I can't get precision enough holes without having maybe a drill press to do this, or some other way to come up with a better and more repeatable process. There's just too much variance between each hole to make this template work. So I'm gonna have to go back and basically fight with the adjustability issue by kind of finding the location where I want stuff and then drilling the holes at that point in time. So frustrated by that, but nonetheless, we're going to do it that way and see what we can come up with. Back to putting things together. Next up, I'm going to build the seat box and start with that, and then I will be able to start putting the legs together, the side rails together with the seat box. All right, so I want to show you real quick. This is all of the pieces cut and ready to go. From the wood, the 2x6s, the 2x4s. The only offcuts that I have, that's one, pieces from two 2x4s, and the last bit off of the last 2x6. And then the last thing I'll show you is, if I show you down here, those are the offcuts. So, see, I'm not good with the camera this way. Anyway, so my wastage was very minimal. I was able to get most everything out of that. So wanted to show you that real quick before I start putting together the seat box. Well, the camera is a little out of alignment, but there's the box for the seat. Let's go set the seat up there real quick and see how it fits. So, of course, I have all the sawdust on here. Vacuum that off, but that's how it's going to fit. Now I just got to figure out how to get those front bolts in, because those bolts were not, the plates are at a 90-degree angle. So that's going to be something I have to deal with. That's how that seat's going to sit there, and I'll work on that next. Running out of battery here, so I'm probably going to stop recording here for a little bit while I do some of this work, and then I'll come back on later with some more battery power and do some more. All right, so took a little break, and because I had got into a little bit of a bind here on how to get the seat mounted to the seat box. The seat is out of a Honda Civic Si. By the way, Dr. Pepper, if you'd like, Dr. Pepper Zero, if you'd like to sponsor the channel. So, yeah, we are fueled by Dr. Pepper Zero. So the front mounts on this seat are L-shaped. So the bolt goes in, if you can't see it from here, I'll probably take some video, but the bolt goes in this way as opposed to through the top. The back ones go through from the top to the bottom or from the bottom to the top. So I needed to find a way to build up a lip. It's honestly a 2x4 is the 2 inches is the right height, but 4 inches, if I would have put a 2x4 there, I would have had to have like a 6-inch bolt or a 5-inch bolt to go all the way through. So my bolts are 3 inches or 3.5. So the easiest thing to do was to rip a piece of 2x4 down to a 2x2 essentially to get this done. That took a little bit of time because, of course, I only have a circular saw, and I had to learn how to rip a piece of 2x4 without killing myself. That's important, by the way. The whole goal through this is not to lose any fingers, bleed anywhere. Anyway, it took a little bit of time. So essentially, the foot box is a 500 millimeter by 500 millimeters square. It's roughly 20 inches by 20 inches, I guess. And then it's 2x6s all the way around with a flat piece of a 1/2-inch plywood on top. It's beefy, no question here. But the reason I've got it beefy is because that's going to be thing that the side rails are going to be mounted to. That's the main structure of this. So coming out, and let me show you real quick. Here is a side rail. It is essentially now going to bolt to this box right here, and then the I can't even talk anymore. It's going to bolt to this box right here. And then the uprights for the wheelbase are going to come up basically here at a little bit of an angle. And then from there, there will be the foot base here for that. And then there will be a standalone monitor mount that will go on just to the outboard side of this. There'll also be a rail here that'll come down, and that rail will be where you would put your shifter or anything else you might do, your handbrake. In my case, I'm going to probably put a keyboard stand there. So that's where we are at this moment. I've got everything now mounted, so I can now start to, I'm going to take off the seat and get all the sawdust off of it, and then I'm going to carry that. The other part of this build that's interesting is this is going to be in an upstairs kind of little rec room area in our house. So, in order for me to be able to carry everything up the stairs, I'm going to basically assemble it all, make sure it fits, and then I'm going to take it apart, do a really quick sand just to take off any spots that I could get like a sliver on. I'm going to do a quick coat of black paint just so it doesn't look like wood from a distance, even though it is. And then I'm going to schlep it up the stairs. And then when I'm done schlepping it up the stairs, put it right back together, and we're going to have a sim rig. All right, now I'm going to take some time and start lining up and getting the side panels ready to go. So, got two of them. Here is the first one. It will go this way, and then the second side. I'm going to go with this one over here, and we'll get these bolts set on this. So I forgot to roll the camera for that little bit, but essentially I have built the wheel deck here. The wheel deck is two pieces of 2x6 for the upright, and then a piece of 1/2-inch ply. Again, I'm trying to over-engineer this because of the rigidity and all of that kind of stuff. So, so this is plenty sturdy for what we're doing here. So that's the situation with that. Now I'm going to build the build the pedal deck here. So wheel deck is done. This is going to go here between the legs, and then it can move wherever I choose to put it at whatever angle I choose to put it here. So that's essentially how that's going to go. That will also tie in the center here. So I think I am done for tonight. We'll come back out tomorrow morning, put some more stuff together here, and then we will then hopefully get everything bolted up and start painting tomorrow. So that's good for now. Back here, day 2 of our build of our DIY replica, aluminum extruded replica sim rig, cockpit, sim rig, however you want to call it. Anyway, we're back here doing it. Realized last night that when I was cutting the wheel deck, I had left on my cut sheet one of the dimensions with question marks. And when I cut it yesterday, I remembered sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up and remembered why I left question marks, and I cut it wrong. So we're going to recut that piece this morning. So the piece that I cut wrong, though, I'm going to use as a keyboard stand, or to start with, yeah, a keyboard stand. So so it's not going to be wasted. It'll be an accessory, which I'm not kind of including as part of this, but that will be part of that. So we're going to get to recutting the wheel deck and then get that put back together so we can get that tested out. So. All right, so here's the one piece of the build that I was a little feeling weird about, but we're gonna go with it because I'm replicating. It's this angle here, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna make the upright that the wheelbase attaches to sit at an angle across. I'm a little worried about the angle because of the strength, but when I put it in there, there's still gonna be a lot of bolts and there's gonna be a brace, so I think it's gonna be fine. As for the angle, I kind of eyeballed it, and it was really close to 15 degrees, so I made it 15 degrees. So go with that. Of course, I didn't show you me actually cutting it because I forgot to turn the tape on. So, but now, pretty much everything for the rig is cut and pre-assembled. The only thing now is adjusting it. So I'm gonna pull the rig down onto the floor, put the seat on it, and sit in it and see if I can get a ballpark adjustment for where I need these to go so I can get the holes put in. So that's gonna be that. I'm gonna do that real quick now. So I want it so that for me when I'm sitting in it, it's pretty much good when my seat is in the bottom, all the way back position, because my family's shorter than me, and if they want to help race with this thing, they're going to need to be a little bit further forward. So I also need to be able to get into the rig when I am sitting in it here. So I think that this is going to be about where I want it to be, because I don't want to cut a ton of holes, but that's kind of where I'm sitting at it here. I'm going to go and put the other bar up here real quick and see. First of all, can I get in and out? With the seat all the way back. Just a little bit more room here. So that's gonna basically be how it looks. I'm gonna go about an inch further this way with the bars to give me just a tiny bit more leg room getting in and out, keeping in mind that I'm a pretty good sized guy. And then I could even go 2 inches because I got a lot of room with the seat to go forward here. So I'm gonna go 2 inches further that way and call it a day. And then I can always adjust. If I really need to, I can cut more holes. I can drill more holes and do that. So I'm gonna go an inch, 2 inches that way. That's gonna be where these are gonna go. I'll be able to slide up. These will go up and down. I'm probably gonna have to cut these off here at some point in time. But we'll play with that depending on how far down I have to go here. But we'll take a look at that down the road. But this is, well, it's a little, well now there's gonna be another bar here. It's a little, oh, actually I have those there. We may need to brace, well, I also don't have the rigidity of the foot pedals in here either. So that will tighten it up too. But I think we're gonna be good. All right, good. That's not a good view of me, but we'll go down here. All right, so I'm just doing a little light sanding right now just to take all the high spots off, make sure there's nothing that I can get a sliver from. That's really my only reason for doing this. And then I'm putting on a little bit of paint. I'm not gonna show you painting because I'm sure you all know how to paint, but we are in the final bits of the cutting, sanding, drilling section of the build. Just do some painting. Again, I'm not painting for perfection. I'm painting just so I doesn't look like I've got raw lumber up in my upstairs area. And you'll get to see the upstairs area and where I'm putting it at. It's actually a really nice part of our house, and it's kind of a common room, kind of a rec room kind of area. So I don't want it to look real schleppy, but again, it's tool. So I'm not painting for perfection. I'm painting just so it kind of works in the space. And next thing you're going to see is the final assembly upstairs as I start putting stuff together. So